So is Imran Khan the key to a brighter future for Pakistan? Let's discuss this with Raza Rumi in Washington. He's the editor of the Pakistani newspaper, The Daily Times. And we can go to Lahore as well because journalist and human rights activist Gul Bukhari is there for us. Thanks to both of you. Look, let's go back 22 years, shall we, Raza? Let's start with you. In all of that time, since Imran entered politics, what has he learned that's going to serve him in the best stead for this challenge of being the new PM?
Well, I'm not really sure what exactly has he learned, but definitely he has learned the art of making compromises because he had to do that in order to gain power by accepting people from other parties, by making compromises with the kind of people he shunned in politics. And I hope he's also learned a lesson from Nawaz Sharif that he has to work very closely with the military and obey them rather than be defiant and challenge them.
Interesting. He has to obey them. Gul Bukhari, what about his relationship with the army, whom so many people say were actually responsible for getting Imran Khan elected? What about that dynamic between the Prime Minister and the military?
He's their junior player. He has been singing from their hymn book for the last few years, and he's been installed as a puppet. What to say of his relationship? However, we have a history where even the most compliant PMs fall out of favor. Whether Imran Khan challenges the military on its policies or not, which we have no indication of yet, is maybe not in question. Even the most compliant PMs who were installed by the military have met with a terrible fate. And then we can talk about the rest. The mandate that primarily he has espoused and which he has been given of anti-corruption. We can talk about that. I think that should be a question under discussion.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. We have to talk about corruption, which is a problem that's plagued Pakistan, well, for at least 50 years, shall we say. The country having been founded in 1947. But you're almost setting him up for a fall. Are you basically saying that if the army withdraws its support, that is the end of his premiership?
Absolutely, because if, a person who has come completely holding or walking with on crutches of the army, the minute it pulls one rug out of his from beneath his feet, he will come crashing down. He has not come become the PM because of the vote. There are several stories in the international press on how he attained a majority. It was termed the dirtiest election ever in Pakistan. And the minute the army withdraws its support, which it will at some point in time, he will come crashing down. Absolutely.
Raza?
He have the people's mandate.
I think, the history in Pakistan tells us that, the powerful civil military bureaucracy has to support an elected government for it to succeed. So, in that sense, I do agree with Gul that, the military, the bureaucracy, the judges are important players in the power game. But I think it would be unfair to say that Imran Khan has been completely, elected on the crutches of the military because, he has a fair size, fair number of supporters in the urban middle classes, in the big cities. And even in the last election, he obtained, I think about 7 million votes, and this time it has more than doubled. Now, obviously, the legitimacy of these elections is a question which is still being pondered, and there are reports and investigations yet to be done to give us proper facts. But I feel that Imran Khan's biggest challenge is not so much the army or the judges, but the expectations of his supporters and in general the country, because he has been trying for 22 years to present a new kind of idea for governance and a clean set of politics. But he had to make many compromises to get where he is today, and whether he will be able to deliver on all of those promises, especially anti-corruption promise, because that is what a lot of middle classes in Pakistan want to happen. They want everyday corruption to end and the top people to be held accountable. So that's a question which remains to be seen. I mean, to be honest, I do wish him luck because the challenges before him are huge, not just in terms of the huge expectations, but also the economic crisis that the country is going through, and also a very large opposition in the parliament and in the provincial assemblies. And, how he navigates this, whether he acts like a statesman and takes all the political parties along or does a solo flight, remains to be seen. But I do emphasize, I was in Pakistan when the elections were taking place. And, there are many, many people, especially in the urban areas, who have been looking forward to Imran's victory, or at least wanting Imran to give a chance.
Gul, I'd like to pick up on the point that Raza was making, that you raised earlier as well, about Raza calls it the promise of clean politics from Imran Khan, the corruption in the country. Corruption takes many forms, right? Cronyism, nepotism, influence peddling, patronage, elitism. All of that is rife in Pakistan across politics, across civil society. It almost certainly pertains to the army as well. How does Imran Khan go about changing a system that's been in place for decades, a system that has forced Pakistani citizens to go and live abroad because they can't take it anymore?
Why do you even think that that is what he has set out to do?
He has said he will do that, because he has said he will do that. He said he will change the form of governance, which means that he has to change the way the government relates to people, and the people want an end to corruption. He said he'll do it.
I'm sure he has said it, and you're right, he has said it. Look at him. This man retired in 1992 from active cricket. For the last 26 years, he has no source of income that he can declare. He lives on a 300-canal mansion. His right-hand man is Jahangir Tareen, who is a convicted insider trader. He did not declare his UK mansion, this Jahangir Tareen. He did not provide any money trail. Imran Khan has not been able to answer his foreign funding of the party case. He has challenged the Election Commission of Pakistan, telling it that it has no jurisdiction to open up or review or reveal his party funding and bank accounts. And he's done that for the last 4 years. Then you come to the rest of his governance for the past 5 years. Each one of his nominees today as Prime Minister-elect, whether they be Governor of KP or Governor of Punjab or Governor of Sindh or Chief Ministers that he's nominating, they are all tainted with corruption cases. How do you even begin to think that this man was or is ever going to, has an aim of wiping out corruption? His only aim was to become Pakistan's Prime Minister, and that's it.
Raza, the allegations that Gul is putting against Imran Khan, do you think they would all be ignored by the majority of the population if the new Prime Minister could meet the economic challenges of the country? And what are those challenges?
So I think, first of all, the allegations that Gul is leveling, I mean, they are out there in the public domain. These cases have been taken to the courts, so various levels of courts, but there definitely has been little progress on that front. Partly, I'll tell you, one of the reasons, other than the fact that, there's an impression that Imran may have been favored by the powers that be, but also because he has never held a public office. So the ordinary folk on the street in Pakistan says, well, why should we apply the same yardstick or the same measure because he has never been in power? That's what they say. So I'm not saying I'm endorsing it or not, but there definitely is a proclivity to forgive Imran Khan for all these, gaps or these lapses. But having said that, the economic crisis is pretty deep in the sense that for the past 1 year, Pakistan has been plunged into a politically unstable phase, and which led to the free fall of the rupee. It lost almost 20 to 25% of its value, and it's making a comeback now. At the same time, we have a big balance of payments crisis. There are billions of dollars to be paid as debt servicing. And for that purpose, Imran Khan's finance minister designate has already announced that they would go to the IMF and seek a bailout package. At the same time, Pakistan has been aided by China, by Saudi Arabia will also chip in, and the Islamic Development Bank is likely to support. So in the short term, Imran Khan will, his government would take care of that and pull the country out of the immediate economic sort of crisis. But the real problem would be because Imran Khan has promised two things. One, he has promised that he would curb corruption in the country, which is a long-term problem and needs a long-term solution. Second, he wants to create what he calls an Islamic welfare state, patterned after the state of Medina during the time of the Prophet, peace be upon him. And now the question really is that you can't set up a welfare state without lots of money for public expenditure and spending.
Okay.
And
Raza, we have run out of time, but we really appreciate you joining us on the Newsmakers, and equally thanks to you, Gul Bukhari. Thank you very much indeed.